we had to discuss about this scenario. If there is a Windows server, how do I bootstrap? But there are some precautions over here. Okay. So Windows server can be anywhere. Can be anywhere, much like how your Linux machines were. Right? But whenever you are bootstrapping, you bootstrap from workstation to node. Yes or no? Actually, the ideal scenario is your workstation to node are in same domain. What do I mean by same domain? In Active Directory, whenever you log in into Windows, you will have some domain, right? Especially in organizations. That is the first case. First case is you are in the same AD domain. Then things work smoother. Or the other scenario at least is workstation to the node in same network. Okay. If both of them are not there and if you want to bootstrap Windows machine, it is not going to happen. So for example, I cannot bootstrap a node which is on some other network from my network over here because security will stop, right? Because underlyingly what happens is whenever you are using bootstrapping in Linux, we use SSH. Yes or no? We have passed the SSH username and all of that. And Windows, the equivalent technology is WinRM, right? Windows Remote Management. Basically, Windows RM is a SOAP-based service, right? Plus authentications enabled. And it will allow authentications only if it is coming from the same network or at least from the same domain if you are present in a different network. That's a basic reality around it. So for this, what I've done is I have already created one network with two systems in it. But this time, just for a difference, I've used Azure, not Windows. But the reason why I've used Azure is because in Azure, I can create Windows 10 machine. Whereas in AWS, I cannot create a Windows 10 machine. That's the reason, right? I needed a workstation also to be there. And I didn't wanted a Windows server to be a workstation because it is not reality. Your Windows servers generally will not be workstations. Your laptops will be your workstations, right? For that reason, I have chosen this setup. Yeah. So now let me get into it and then start these machines. For the people who don't have Azure accounts, if you want to simulate this idea and all of that, don't even worry about it. In Chef, right? Yeah. In QuickBooks, we can know about test kitchens, right? Yeah. In test kitchen, try to give a Windows AMI ID rather than giving a Linux AMI ID, right? And then work on Windows Server. That's more than enough for you, right? But whenever you are practicing, generally in organizations, in real-time scenarios, all the companies where you are working will have Active Directory domains. No company will not work out without having Active Directory domain, right? So Active Directory is basically, you can think of it as your identity server in Windows, which is basically used whenever you authenticate. Whenever you are entering usernames and passwords, it will validate and all of that, right? It is much more than that, but at least that's a beginning step. You can think of it as that. Okay. So let me get into virtual machines. Whenever you are playing with Windows, ensure that you have decent configurations. I think the machines which I have over here are not less than 4 GB of RAMs. Right? Let it be a Windows server or let it be a Linux server. So I have two machines already over here, but I'll add one more. Wonderful. So for the people who are worried about what are these UI options, just Google for that. Right? Virtual machine name is Qt Windows Node 2. Windows 2016. Okay. Username. Okay. I'm ensuring that all of them are in the same network. That's it. That's the only point which I'm trying to do. Yeah, IP is fine. And this is your security group. Whatever I'm trying to select over here, it is much like your security group. That's it. I'm done. So this machine will cost me approximately 7.9 rupees per hour. Yeah. Because of the Windows license also over there. If I select the same machine with Ubuntu, I might not have this much of cost because there is no software cost associated with it. Yeah. Okay. Now let me get into my workstation while this is happening. First, I'll get into my workstation and then into the node. Yeah. Okay. It has not started yet, is it? Strange. I think we have executed start, right? Let us see the state. Hmm. Good. Okay. It has to be started for us to connect. So that's why connect was not showing us anything. Let me click on connect now. While creating the machine in Azure, you have a chance to enter your own username and password, unlike AWS. In AWS, the username and password generally we don't get to choose. We have to basically select. So, for example, whenever you are selecting Ubuntu machines, the default username was Ubuntu already. But over here, you get a chance to select it. That's how Azure has designed it. Right? There is nothing called as what is better in that. That's the way. That's it. So my username is. I cannot do Bootstrap from my laptop because, as I said, of those two restrictions. My laptop and the Chef node has to be in the same domain, or at least they have to be in the same network, right? To simulate, then I don't want to create a VPN and complicate the scenario, right? So that's the reason why I've decided to create everything in the cloud. Okay. So you can think of this machine as your laptop, the workstation which I'm trying to connect, right? And one more machine over here, which is your Qt workstation. Yeah. Or not workstation, Chef node. this as your server. Okay, let us connect to this also. So this is your server. So we have server and we do have node. And in this, I have done necessary installations. Visual Studio Code is here. Chef DK is installed over here, right? And Chef Starter Kit, Chef Repo, cookbooks, and I've created a simple cookbook called as Windows Demo. Okay. Now, while it is doing its job, let us do ours. In the case of Chef, whenever you want to check for resources, we'll do this Chef resources, right? Remember our old drill when we used to search for package, file, and all of that? Yeah. There are some Windows specific resources. Let me try to do that. I'm just going into this. There are many resources, but I'm just choosing on this. Okay. So a Windows resource package is used to manage the MSI packages, right? Which will install using all the default options. So for example, you can give the installer's name and you can tell what are the basic things which you can do on Windows, right? Similarly, whenever you want to create environmental variables, you will have all of this underscore with Windows underscore. You want to create some environmental variable, Windows underscore env, and just tell what is your environmental variable, and you have to use these kind of resources, not the other resources which we have used so far. For everything which you are using in Windows, you will have generally this Windows underscore convention. Yeah. Okay. So now let me have just written a sample stuff around here. Recipes. I've written something called as testing.rb. So I've written something like Windows feature telnet client, and then I've basically enabled some more Windows features. So what do I mean by Windows features is when you go into this appwiz.cpl control panel, right? You have this turn Windows features on or off, right? Yeah. Whenever you want to make this machine a IAS server, then you have to select options like this. Okay. That is what I am trying to do. But I'm not trying to do on this machine. I'm trying to do it on the server. All right. So what I've done is I've already uploaded this cookbook. Let me just run the chef client first, and then we'll get into the other word. Manage.chef.io. I have not combined this with the other stuff which we do. I have just created a new account yesterday. The process is exactly the same. Basically, the resources which you write are not the actual resources. You cannot use Windows package. You have to use something like Windows underscore package. You cannot use that. Basically, if you want to add any features, you cannot go with commands. You have to basically go with the stuff. And whenever you do execute on Windows, in Linux, whenever you execute, you write shell commands, right? If you are doing it on Windows, you have to write PowerShell commands. So that's how the things work. Now let me get into the policy cookbooks, and I've written something called as Windows demo. Okay. So this is what I have. And I have one node over here. And in this node, I have, man, in this node, I have the run list, which is Windows underscore demo. You can have environments, you can have roles, you can have all the other things. That things don't change. The only thing that changes is how you write your cookbooks will slightly differ. And basically, whenever you are dealing with paths, ensure that you cannot write Linux paths over here. Right? Now, let me get into this node. I get into some folder. Whenever you install Chef client, right? Yeah, there will be two folders that are created. One is a configuration folder, the other one is a executable folder. Actually, what Chef recommends is Chef recommends you to add one of this to the path variable also, right? But that's fine. If you go into the Chef folder over here, in the Linux, you will have the same content in etc chef. If you go into the etc chef on your node, you'll be seeing something like this. Are you seeing client.pem over here and client.rb? Remember, in our workstation, we used to have knife.rb file, which basically tells where your server is. Okay, on the node you have client.rb file, which tells the node where the server is. All right, this is for the other way communication around, and you have some pem file so that they can authenticate to each other. All right, so this is the configuration world. Now when you come to executable world, your chef client will be installed in here. Are you seeing these executables? All right, now it is better that you open PowerShell in as an admin, because whenever you want to enable features, right, you need to have administrative permissions. If you have just said create file, you might not have required that. Okay, so I will run it as an administrator. I will get into this folder. There we used to run sudo chef client. Yes, here you have, if you want to manually execute it, open PowerShell as an administrator, execute chef client. Okay, chef hyphen. You can use -l debug. All the other commands work exactly the same. Now let us see the other machine. Once this is done, let us see whether the other machine is up and running, and let us do the bootstrapping. Yeah, if you have to bootstrap, how will it sound like? Exactly the same, but you have written some Windows related packages over here. And whenever you write this on basically on a cookbook where you have written the same thing for Windows and Linux, don't forget to use only underscore if or not underscore if, because this, if you try to run it on a Linux machine, it will fail. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it is happening on the nodes, right? Now let us see, if I have to bootstrap, how will it sound like? Can I download a cookbook from Chef Supermarket and make changes to that cookbook and upload to the Chef server if it doesn't have any dependencies? See, I think I have got one question in even Ansible playbook. See, these guys, whenever they give cookbooks, look at what is the license which they have given. If they have said GNU or GPU license, you can change, make the changes, but you have to give back your changes. Whenever someone has written a cookbook with Apache license, you can do whatever you are trying to tell right now. So there is a licensing violation if you try to do it in your office. For practicing over here, yes, you can play around. But whenever you are using any other person's work in your company, you will have some license obligations. For learning, no one will take any serious offense. Whenever you are doing it in your office, if you take someone else's cookbook, see what is the license. If it is an Apache license, you can do whatever you are trying to tell, because Apache license you can take the code, you can make the changes. If you want, you can upload it, or else you can keep it with you. But if the user has been issuing a cookbook with GNU or GPL license, then you can make changes, but you have to give back the owner the changes which you have made. And it is up to him whether to take your changes or not, but you have to send that request. That's how these things work. All right. Yeah. Any chef client cookbook, you cannot, because I don't think so. You can make changes, but as I am saying, whenever you're using it for your own learning purposes, no harm. whenever you are doing it in your company, please look at license. Let it be any cookbook. Story is same. Yeah. Okay then. So let me try to open PowerShell. Get into my okay, and now I have to do bootstrap. Remember what was our bootstrap command? Knife, bootstrap, and node, right? But in Windows, the things are slightly different. You will be using a command something like knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM. This is a command. And for you to run this command, whenever you use WinRM, it might use a port 5986 or 5985. Ensure that if you are using cloud machines, those ports are open, or while you are doing practice, open all the ports, because you are not doing any wonderful job over here, right? So that's the first command. There are many helps which you can basically take from multiple different documentation. So let me just directly search for it. Knife, bootstrap, yeah, absolutely. Windows, WinRM. Okay, and then you have to basically tell what is your domain name or what is your machine's what do you say, IP address. Anything is fine. Okay, so let me write that command. The command will slightly change. Knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM. Okay, name of your server or name of your IP addresses, and here, since we are having both of them in the same network, don't forget to give private IP addresses. If you remember that I said WinRM will work in two cases. One, you are only if you are in the same domain, or at least if you are in the same network. Now let me get into this Qt workstation. And are you seeing networking? Click on this networking. And are you seeing the private IP address over here? 10.0.0.0.5. So 10.0.0.5. Okay. And as usual, for the rest of the command, you can refer to the Google, or you can always ask your knife command. So knife, bootstrap, Windows, WinRM. You can also give hyphen help. That's the same thing which you have been doing, right? You have to give WinRM username, WinRM password, right, and probably the name of the node, right? So while it is giving itself, let me try to do that. WinRM hyphen user, Qt DevOps, WinRM hyphen password. I think I've given a password which is this, and hyphen node name. You can give any node name. Ideally, you should be giving the DNS name. I'll be giving Windows Chef 2, something like this. That's it. That's a command. Okay. But before you execute this command, there is something which you need to do on the Linux, on the other node. You have to see whether the WinRM service is enabled on that machine or not. Am I clear on this? Right. So shall we log in into our workstation? Or not workstation, on our node, on a Windows server which you have just created. Our Windows server was this, right? Yeah. It is like starting the SSH service on a Linux machine. Yeah, you need something to start to communicate. We will generally have problems from our node getting into workstation getting into node, but we'll never have problems from workstation speaking with server, because that is an outbound call. Inbound calls are more threatening than outbound calls. So when you are bootstrapping, your hurdle might be whenever you are trying to bootstrap the communication between your workstation and node. But node to server, it is quite simple because it is a program which is asking you some information and it will go through generally. Okay, server manager will come up. And one more thing is, whenever you get that Windows, the notification, right? Which network do you want? Home network, private network, or a public network? If you have put your network connection in public, WinRM won't work, right? WinRM works only when your network type is private and or home at least, not on. You don't have a home option in server side, but on the desktop side you might have it. So let us assume that you are doing a knife bootstrapping. You have done everything. You are in the same network, but if you are on a public network, it might not work, right? So if you are on a public network, we know how to change it, right? Right click on this network symbol, properties, and then you'll be seeing the option there. You will see public. Click on that and change it to either private or home network. Then only your WinRM will work. Otherwise, it will not work. So there are many ifs and buts over here which you need to remember when we work on WinRM, all right? Because it is okay. Now let me go with PowerShell. Run it as an administrator. The first command which you need to ensure that you run on this machine is WinRM quick config. It will ask you for multiple of statements whether right. So now if you try to do this WinRM quick config, it says that it is already running. Yeah. So this should be running in the running state. Yeah, and it would be better if you put it in an automatic state. Okay. So this should be done at the first case. Now what is the command which we have? This is the command, right? And let us look at what has happened over here. Too many options. Okay. Knife, bootstrap, WinRM, FQDN, right? And then scroll down. You will be seeing WinRM hyphen username, WinRM hyphen password. You can set environment. You can give run list, all of those things. But I'm interested in only usernames and passwords. Are you seeing these things? WinRM user, WinRM underscore. If WinRM works on a different port other than 5985 or 5986, then you need to specify the port name also over here, right? When SSLs are failing, you can just say that I don't want SSL to be verified. Whatever it is, you have to set all of these options. Now, let me get into my workstation and try to execute this command. If everything has been configured correctly, I should see this node as a new node into my Chef server. If the initial communication between node and workstation successes, then your bootstrap will success. If the initial communication itself fail, nothing is going to work. In your office, you might have some firewall policies. You need to speak with your administrator saying that I'm going to have my communication on 5986 port. Ensure that you allow it for me, right? So yeah, didn't I give password? It has messed up, man. Let me do one thing. It is WinRM hyphen password. Yeah. Now let me copy this statement. Okay. Now I think things will be smoother, but let me have one cross check, because sometimes even if it is not successful, it will send a notification to the server saying that you have one more node. Hopefully good so far. Yeah, I said right. So when these things happen, you will get a wrong intimation to the server. Yeah, you can keep it like that, but there is no point. Let us delete this, because we know that the bootstrapping was not success. Okay. Now let me do this activity. Why is it asking for password again? 1 minute. Huh. Okay. Let me tell you what is the problem. We need to give hyphen, right? Yeah. So where are hyphens over here? That's a mistake. Okay. So that's why you should refer to the documentation whenever you write command line. I need to do that or clean up this mess again. Hopefully at least this time I don't mess up. Yeah. In the organizations, it depends on what are your organization's call is. Whenever they are doing POCs, they don't install it. But once they are okay with it, they will purchase the Chef license, and then you might be working in your in-house Chef server. But whenever you are starting, you don't directly work on server. Okay. It has logged into 10.0.0.5, right? So our life is smooth now. Things don't trouble us, should not trouble us now. Yeah. Okay. Now it says that it is trying to do, and it is trying to do some installation. It will take some time. It will not be as fast as what a Linux machine's bootstrap is, because it is easier to install it over there. But over here, it takes decent amount of time. Okay. Now let me get into and then look into. There are some questions over here. I can set the convergence day or time using cron jobs as I want. How to check whether it is applied or not? For that, you have to just basically look into logs. You have logs, right? Yeah. The hardest way is to look at logs. The easiest way is in Chef server. Are you seeing anything called as reports? After your nodes between policy, are you seeing anything called as reports? Yes. Have a closer look at that reports. Those reports will tell you when the convergence of which node has happened. That's the easier way to find out. Or if you don't want to get into all of this mess, you write one more handler which can send an email to you when your cookbook's execution is success. Because you have many packages which can send an email. Just write one more resource, Chef resource, to do that activity for you. Yeah. Okay. It is trying to install Chef client on that machine. Once that Chef client is installed, let us apply the same Windows demo on that machine and rerun the or execute the Chef client into that system. Okay. It is different in the steps, but conceptually there is no different, right? Even on the Linux machine, whenever we want to make a connection to the Linux machine, SSH service should be running. But for whatever machines which we create, SSH is automatically started. So that's why we don't worry about starting the SSH service, right? So here we had to do WinRM. That's like starting an SSH service. And after that, we have done the bootstrap, but the bootstrap command was different this time. It is not knife bootstrap node. It is basically knife bootstrap Windows and use the WinRM technology. Tell the address, give the username, give the password, right? But ensure whenever you are trying this, you need to be in the same network or at least in the same domain. Those are the minimum case which you need to really look at. Okay, it will take its own sweet time. So in the meantime, yeah, so we have looked into this, right? Yesterday I said about unattended bootstrapping. Yeah, let me discuss about it. What is this unattended bootstrapping? Yeah. Any other practice to add bootstrap if not in AD or same network? No other way. Then you have to make your insecurities open onto your system. It doesn't work that way. And it is a recommendation and you have to have it. So what is the other scenario? You tell me. Let us not look out for other way. You are bootstrapping a server in your company, production server. Will you and the node will not be in the same network? Customer domain అయి ఉండొచ్చు కానీ మీరు మీ సర్వర్ ఒక నెట్వర్క్ లో ఉండొచ్చా? You can. So that's where bootstrapping becomes possible. The other possibility is at least you try to connect from any other machine which has the same domain. If others are able to connect, is it a secure practice? No. Because remember, Windows authentication is only password based authentication, right? Unlike Linux, they cannot rely on PEM files because Windows doesn't understand PEM files. It has only username and password based authentications. So it has to protect certain things. So that's why it is off. And whenever you are working on Windows, you cannot think it is a Windows, it is a Linux machine. Similarly, on working on Linux machine, you cannot make assumption that it works like Windows. There are differences. And our job is to understand those differences and work according to that. Yeah. Okay. What is the same domain? All the employees belonging to the same organization will have same domain, right? For example, the domain of Infosys could be infosys.com. An Active Directory is created with that, and you are authorized computer of Infosys. You can communicate to other Infosys systems. Whenever you get a laptop from an organization, whenever you get it, so what is the username and password which you are typing? You'll have something like organization/username, right? Who is authenticating all of that? Active Directory, right? That is called as a domain controller. That's what a domain is. Okay. Now, unattended, right? Here, okay. Let me just get into AWS. Okay. First you create the node, next you log in into the node, and then you enter those sequence of commands which were seeing over there. Or if you don't want to do manually, all of us can write a shell script. At least if not today, in next 3 or 4 days you should be able to write a shell script, right? Okay. Let me go with that assumption. While creating the EC2 machine, you can select any machine for that matter. Let it be a Windows or a Linux machine. Okay. Scroll down. Over here, are you seeing advanced details? So this section is called as user data. And you can copy the contents of all of your shell script over here, right? And what are those contents? Chef has directly given you the documentation saying that this is what you need to do, right? You put your script over here, and whenever the machine is created for the first time, immediately after the machine is created, this script gets executed, right? And as a result of this script's execution, your bootstrapping has happened. So that becomes an unattended bootstrap, right? For the people who are working on Azure or who know about Azure, exactly the same thing is called as cloud init in Azure. You have every cloud has this support, right? And whenever you are doing unattended bootstrapping, you need to write the script which you are seeing in that documentation blindly over here. So in that case, what happens? There is no need for you to execute that knife bootstrap node or knife bootstrap Windows WinRM. Whenever this machine comes up, you have a script which does the work. Yes. ఉంటే ఏమైంది స్క్రిప్ట్ ఒకసారి రాసేది 100 సార్లు రాయండి. You are using the same script for 100 nodes. You have one script, right? That's it. You have to. ఆ స్క్రిప్ట్ కూడా కాపీ చేయకుండా అంటే ఇంకా మంత్రాలు నేర్చుకోవాలి. You need to have something which is reusable, right? Yeah. So, or else what you can do is, if you don't want to get into all of that nonsense, put your script in your shared location on the internet. In the startup, just write one line saying that download that script and execute that script. 2 lines. But actually, your script is getting downloaded from somewhere from the internet. That's it. That will resolve your issue. That's how you need to design. Yeah. Okay. So am I clear? Unattended bootstrapping. This is one scenario. So if someone asks if I have 100 nodes, how do I bootstrap? You can tell that you can do knife node bootstrap, right? Or you can go with unattended bootstrap, right? And there is one more way. If you are working on Azure, Azure has a concept called as extension. You just install Chef extension and you get Chef client automatically installed on your machine. So these are the 3 familiar ways, right? Am I clear on this? One is knife bootstrap, that is fine. Second one is unattended bootstrap, and in the case of Azure, you have something called as extension. You don't need to install Chef client over there. Okay. So for example, let me show you what those extensions are. Are you seeing these extensions? You can just say that I want to add an extension. And are you seeing something with respect to Chef? Where is it? No. Just select that. Whatever we are doing bootstrapping, he will try to do that, right? And you basically install this, and in this you need to tell what is your server and what is your PEM file. That's it. So you don't need to really do any installation if you are on Azure world, on a Microsoft world. But if you are on a Linux, on other clients, you need to refer on user data. So many people might not know about these extensions, so that's why I'm referring to as user data or cloud init. These are the 2 possibilities. Yes. Okay. Let us see whether our stuff has been completed. Yes, it has completed. Now let me finish whatever we have started. I'll go to the manage now. I'll do refresh. I should see one more node. Yeah, it is getting all the attributes saying that the platform is Windows, FQDN is this, whatever it is. All right. Now, if I want, I can change the environment role and all of that stuff. But over here, I'll not do all of this. I'll come over here and then I'll add changes to the run list. Now let me get into my new node. Okay. And then get into cd c/, where are the binary files? If everything is installed correctly, right? In C drive. Okay, what is this machine? మనం ఉన్న నోడ్నే బూట్స్ట్రాప్ చేసామేంటి? No. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me look at some of the attributes. .10.0.0.5. Good. What does it say? It has said that bootstrapping is success, right? Okay. Now let me log in into that machine. Where is my virtual machines? Windows Node 2. Let me cross check. We have bootstrapped the wrong node, man. This machine's IP address is 10.0.0.6. We have bootstrapped the same machine twice. Okay, it's okay. Whatever it is. So the only thing which I have to change right now is I think I have bootstrapped the Windows desktop. Okay, so whatever it is, so are you basically looking into these things now whenever you install this, right? And you get into the desktops. No. So let me change the Windows Chef 3. Yeah, I'll be coming 1 minute. Okay, now if you get into those machines, any of these machines will have C drive ops code folder. Get into that ops code folder, bin folder, and execute chef client when your PowerShell is run as admin, and your stuff will work exactly like the same thing, right? And whenever you are practicing this, before all of this, I would expect you to create a Windows kitchen using, or a Windows Linux machine using test kitchen. That's it, right? It will take its own 10 minutes of time, and after that everything will be basically done. Okay, so the basic thing which you need to look at over here is my WinRM enabled? Am I trying to bootstrap from the machine which is in the same domain or at least in the same network, right? Then the things will be smooth. If I try to do it on the other world, you will unnecessarily get into connectivity issues, and those are not chef issues, those are actual Windows issues. And it is not an issue, it is a security feature actually, right? So you cannot ask for Windows saying that how can I open everything. No, Windows will say no, it is not possible, it will not. So whenever you are doing this practice, ensure that your workstation and node are at least in the same network. For the people who are from Microsoft Windows administrative side, you can create your own domains and play around with that. But if that is not the case, at least try to create 2 machines in the same network. So for the people who don't have Azure accounts, how do I simulate this scenario? Go to the AWS and create 2 Windows servers and make your Windows server chef, install ChefDK in that. I have not done it because it might confuse you. Why am I working on servers? But ChefDK will work even though if you are running it from Windows server. All right. For the people who have AWS accounts, please work only with 2 machines basically, and create 2 machines in using Windows servers. Right. So if it is Windows Server 2016, WinRM quick config might not be required because for local it is open already, right? 2012 R2 same scenario, but if you are working on 2012 or the earlier versions of Windows, it is mandatory that you have to run WinRM quick config. So that's why even if it is not required for 2016, I have executed that step so that we are clear about it. So the prerequisites are WinRM quick config, opening 5986 and 5985 ports, right? And then ensuring that your node and workstation are in the same network or at least in the same domain. If you don't follow this, Windows bootstrapping will not work. That was an issue which was raised few days ago by someone on the Qt DevOps issues. This is your answer, right? Okay, fine then. So that's what I had. What are the other questions? What is wrapper? Wrapper is not required. That is too much ahead of time. Wrapper is whenever you are basically, what is a wrapper? When we use a wrapper in general things to cover up something. Yes. So whenever you have too much of complexity hidden in your cookbooks, you write one cookbook in front of it, which will make your calls to the other complicated cookbook simple. This is called as a wrapper cookbook. Wrapper is a design pattern, not a cookbook type. Right? For example, you have 10 cookbooks. Calling 10 cookbooks might be difficult. So what you have done is you have written a 11th cookbook where you have made your call simple. So that is a wrapper cookbook. Yeah. Difference between food critic and cook style test. You tell me. Execute and tell it to me what are the differences. Did you execute that? Yeah. Wonderful. Any other questions? Cheppandi. Do we have resume sample points? For example, if you get into the qualitythought.in and resources and click on wherever you see DevOps materials, there are some content topics which you need, which can be added to your professional summary, and there are topics which there are points which can be added to your roles and responsibilities. Sample resumes, I'm sorry, I don't give it because I don't want people to clone the same resume and apply it, so that by looking at the resume itself we can make out that he's a student of quality thought, right? I don't want that stuff. Yeah. Okay, kitchen. Okay, you want me to share? I'll be sharing everything now. Whatever we have done in the classroom, I'll be sharing everything now. Don't worry about it. Now I'll be creating a new folder in Git, and I'll be sharing it. Just look at in next 2 or 3 hours. You'll see that. Okay. In GitHub.com, in github.com/a square zone, you will see something with chef zone, right? And in that you should see something with December 18, a folder created with the December 2018. Get into that. Whatever we have practiced will be there, but give me next 3 hours because I have to commit it. Yeah. With kitchen converge issue with SSH connection, that's fine. What is the issue with SSH connection? -l debug, raise a issue. I think I've said what has to be done, right? Whenever you are getting issues with kitchen converge -l debug, look into the error, trouble with SSH connection, raise that issue, and tell what is your environment, right? Because you might have messed up with network security group, you might have messed up with ACLs if you are practicing basically Amazon VPC. If you are in the same network, UFE might not be open. There are 1,001 ways, and there is no one solution to that, right? It depends on what is your case. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I had with respect to Chef. And from tomorrow onwards, you will be having Linux classes. Please do practice Linux, because what is the Chef's basic way of working? First, you need to know Linux commands. And then for every Linux command, we write a Chef resource. And then we test it in the kitchen. When everything is working, we upload the cookbook to the server. So Linux plays a key role over here. So understand how to write scripts, because in some companies, your work might be assigned in a different way. They might tell that we already have some certain Linux scripts which are doing the deployment. I want you to convert into Chef. So for that, you need to understand how to read scripts and how to write scripts. So focus on the next 4 days, and it is really essential. Yeah. Okay.